My name is Gus. I'm a creative director, art director, photographer, and filmmaker. And as a creative professional, I do think it's important to have an online portfolio because it tells your audience or your clients who you are and what you do. So today I'm giving you a quick breakdown of my online portfolio, which I built entirely in Framer. Now, for those who don't know, Framer is a bit like Figma, but focuses more on building the website as opposed to designing the website. So you design, you publish, no code really needed. I'll say a little, maybe a little bit of code. Now, it's definitely a game changer for designers who really want the full control without having to dive into Java, HTML, and sort of dealing with like WordPress, for example. Now, this is not a Framer tutorial or a sponsored video, although Framer does offer you a free barrier to entry, which allows you to publish your sites. It has got a subscription model that is quite expensive. So my feelings on that are isn't that good. But anyway, I digress. Like I said, I'm going to be breaking down my online portfolio and we'll be touching upon what I did, why I did it, and hopefully looking at some of the things that I should and probably could do differently. Let's get into it. Right. So the first thing you see when you land on my site is this hero section with the headline, Where Curiosity Leads. And this is to create that initial interest. So this copy sits at the bottom of the page. And then as you engage and you scroll down, Nawanya Studio Creates is revealed. Now, this animation, this small animation and reveal sets the precedence for how interaction with my site will go. So site visitors have an immediate understanding and get a sense of engagement reward by scrolling. Notice the italics on curiosity and creates, and that's done deliberately. I'm trying to create a visual aesthetic, something that makes you pause on those words. So the opening headline is at the core of what I do. I work with brands that want to explore and are curious, and I create the narratives that help them do that. Now, from a design perspective, the copy is pretty bold. You're presented with the statement level typography. The type uses this soft sand color and it sits on this bold, vivid red orange backdrop. And then you have this subheading copy underneath. There's a massive jump in type sizes, and its purpose is to reinforce the hierarchy of the information that you see. The use of the portfolio colors throughout the design is a reflection of Nawanya Studios, and it's a mix of bold and calm colors. It's something I've been experimenting with for some time, and I'm not quite sure if I'm 100% set on it, but I guess time will tell, and I might change and tweak it a little bit as time goes on. The vivid red orange gives a sense of energy and urgency. It's loud, it's active, and really it's impossible to ignore. And hopefully through that it shows my passion and my confidence. Whereas the soft sand use in the typography in particular is more reassuring. It's stable and grounding, allowing the whole copy, the whole content to feel a little bit more approachable. Now, the subheading reads, a solo run creative advertising, design and production studio, crafting narratives that elevate brands and businesses. That subheading is doing a lot of work explaining what I do in this first instance. I purposely kept the copy quite understated. And I guess you could say the type size doesn't match the importance of what it's being said. But to be honest, I could have bumped up the type size to maybe give it a bit more presence. But this was more of a visual hierarchy and look that I was going for. So as we continue to scroll down the page, a more in-depth paragraph is revealed through a subtle animation. It's a simple framer effect, but it adds some depth, making the copy come alive. In this paragraph, I go into a little bit more detail about what I do and who it's for. It's essentially my value proposition statement explaining why a client should choose my services or to work with me. Scrolling down, we hit the project section. Now, this is where most portfolios begin to differ, depending on who you are and your preferences, really. I went down a very sort of classic two-column grid layout, clean, simple. Each project has a subcategory tag at the top. For example, we have brand identity and strategy or 360 brand launch, and it's followed by either the project name or the client name, and image. The images are doing the heavy lift work here, and there are so many ways to display your work visually as thumbnails. You can have a real campaign or project visuals. You could show a teaser image like I've done so here, or even go down a more typographic approach. It's really up to you to decide how much or how little you want to show. Now, my advice is that whatever approach you do choose, you should aim for a visual consistency so that it all aligns with your goals and your objectives in terms of what you want your audience to see. So having a overall visual style that sits across all your thumbnail cards gives your site a harmony and an overall pleasing look. Now, there's currently no hover states on any of my project cards, and I think it's something that I will choose to update soon. I do think it's important for visitors to have a visual feedback when you are trying to communicate what elements are interactive or non-interactive, and it reduces uncertainty and it makes a site feel more intuitive, because you can see this is meant to be clicked, or maybe it doesn't have any functionality whatsoever. So I might introduce a subtle micro animation that doesn't detract from the overall look of the project cards, but maybe a play on typography or color shift somewhere. Now, the see more projects button at the bottom is good. It's clear and hopefully very obvious. I wanted to avoid the infinite scroll feeling you can often get when on a one pager, just scroll up, scroll up, scroll up. Plus, I didn't want loading times to be an issue, and as a first impression when you land on the site. Now, with my See More Projects button, you know where to go if you want to have a deeper dive. I don't think it's a bad practice to not have all your projects front and center, but it's just my UX preference. Scrolling further, we have the contact section. I have a prominent CTA that reads, ready to bring your projects to life. Here, I wanted the language to feel more conversational and direct and still have that inquisitive nature to it. And then I followed that up with my goal is to understand your brand or idea from the inside out, etc. I shift my language a little bit from a selling mindset to one of empathy and understanding. And what I'm saying here is I get it, your brand's important, and I will definitely be treating it that way. The Get in Touch button links visitors out of the browser and will launch a native email app. It's direct and straight to the point, but now on reflection, perhaps Get in Touch sounds a little bit too generic. I could use more uh, I could use more specificity. Oh, I could be more specific, maybe with start a project or let's talk about your brand, as a more clearer call to action. And finally, as you reach the bottom of the site, I've used a very popular content reveal technique for the footer. Overall, I've chosen to keep my homepage simple and easy to navigate. Clicking the menu icons launches a full page drop down where I have a link to the works page and about page. And the icons below link out to external pages, email, LinkedIn, and socials. When you click the work links, it takes you to the work page featuring all my project's case studies. So immediately what you'll note is it's got the same grid structure that is on my home page, the two column layout, same visual language, but instead of 4 projects, you see all my current projects. I chose to show quite a lot of project case studies, and my point here is to show my range. I don't just do brand identities. I don't just shoot photography. I do strategy, design, film, digital, experiential, animation, and that breadth of work, I believe, is my selling point. And it's something I've talked about being a multidisciplinary creative in a previous video, which I'll link to in this one. But because of the varied work, there's no way for me to filter all the various case studies. So, for example, if I'm a potential client in the healthcare space, I can see some related case studies, but currently you would have to scroll through everything else um, to find other similar related case studies. So perhaps in the future I can simplify this by adding a filter by industry, healthcare, retail, tech, lifestyle, etc. Just a function to make this page a little bit more usable for my audience. So when you click through a project card, you land on the case study itself. Here you will see a hero image and the title of the project. This is followed by a brief description and also the client, services, the sector, and also the date of the project. After that, I have a hero image or hero video, depending on what you come across. Go on to talk about the project itself and the solution that was arrived with the client. And also I list the deliverables for that campaign or project. Following this is a series of hero images. I'm using a Mason grid style format to showcase the work, and I often break this up with a full bleed image across the page. So I used Framer's CMS features to build my project case studies. I designed the template with a series of section conditions that I can switch on and off. This allows me to tailor each project so case studies can differ from one another to some varying degrees. Hopefully, no 2 case studies are ever the same, and doing this means I'm able to highlight particular case study strengths and provide a unique viewing experience for visitors. Now, when you reach the bottom of every project page, you are presented with 3 more projects to explore. And it's just a great way of clients to see more of what you can do. Back to the main menu and clicking on the About page. And this takes visitors to the page where there is more information about myself. The very first thing you see is the headline. I'm Augustine Nwanya. Most people call me Gus. And then underneath that, yeah, that's me up in a tree. I think having some personality in how you come across is important. It makes you more approachable and it can ease a lot of tension. And I think even in some cases, having a sense of humor doesn't do any harm. There's also a photo of me sitting up in a tree, creating an image. Now, a lot of designers would say play it safe and perhaps sit majestically behind a desk with a laptop in tow. But I think it's important to give a true sense of who you are when you're talking about yourself. And this photo itself tells a story about the type of person I am. Sometimes I climb trees. I mean, what are you going to do? No, but seriously, it shows a playful yet curious nature and a willingness to go beyond what is expected to deliver. Now, following this image is a paragraph about myself where I touch upon how curiosity drives my work, pulling from architecture, science, music, street culture. And again, that word curiosity is everywhere. It's becoming one of my brand's mantras at this point, which is exactly what I want to get across. As you continue to scroll down, and if you didn't read any other information about me, you'll immediately see the line that states creative director and designer with over 15 years of experience, 15 plus years. It's actually 20, but I've shrunk it a bit. If there's only one message on me that I would like my prospective clients to take away, it would be my experience and my credibility. Simple, clear, no fluff information. Scrolling down a bit further, you will note the running ticker here, which features a small list of the brands that I've worked with over the years. This is to show social proof and reinforce my credibility. This is especially important for founders and small startups and small businesses to help provide that assurance that you are capable. Then if we hit the expertise section, this is laid out in 3 columns: creative, photography, and film. And under each category is a comprehensive list of my skill sets. It tells someone who's just scanning through the page exactly what I bring to the table without them having to guess. You scroll down to the section about my process. Here I break the copy down with a statement about curiosity again being at the heart of my process. And then I follow up with a breakdown of those processes. I have a 4-step process: a meet and greet where I sit down or have a call, I learn about the business, and then a discovery where I do a little bit of research, dig into finding out what makes the business or the brand unique. And then there's the creative development, which hopefully it's a partnership with the client or the business. We iterate together. And then there's deliverables, where I supply the end execution, and that can be anything from design guides, templates, film, pretty much the lot. So being transparent about your process shows a level of trust. And my hope is that when a potential client reads this, they're not just seeing my work, but gaining a better understanding of how I work too. And that removes a massive amount of anxiety for their decisions. It means that they know what to expect and how we plan to work together. The last thing on here is my freelance collaboration. I want to give myself enough versatility for income when running a creative studio. Part of that is acting as a creative for hire. Pew pew. No, no, no pew pews. So this means I can be contracted to work with other agencies, offering creative support where needed. The copy itself is pretty solid. It's telling agencies and production companies that I can slot into their teams, work remotely, or even on site and bring some versatility. But looking at it now visually, it's like a continuation of other paragraphs above it. So I think I will revisit this section and give it its own maybe visual treatment, maybe a different background tone or a subtle divider, something really to signal to visitors that this is a separate offer. So that is pretty much a rundown of my website built-in Framer. Um, if you're building a portfolio, whether in Framer or anything else, my advice is um, know your message, know your brand, learn to know your brand, be intentional about your design decisions and stick to it. If you found this helpful, it'd be great to find out what you struggle with when building your own portfolio website. But don't overthink, and let the work be the star. Uh, I think that's it, really. My name's Gus, and that was my portfolio breakdown, and I will see you in the next one.